Sounds right.
Hello everyone, welcome to EduHunt video lecture series. In this session, we are going to know some details about asexual mode of reproduction. In the previous session, in the introductory class, we have discussed what is reproduction and various modes, that is asexual and sexual modes of reproductions, and differences between these two. In this session, we are going to learn about asexual mode of reproduction in detail. Let's move on to the topic. Asexual reproduction, as I mentioned in my previous session, that asexual reproduction is faster and also it involves only single parent and results in no genetic variation. Keep it in your mind that only single parent is involved. It is a type of reproduction in which the new organisms are produced without formation of gametic fusion. Gametes are meiotic products which are produced during sexual reproduction. But as we are talking about the asexual reproduction, there is no such formation of gametes and fusion of gametes. All the genes and the genetic material are received by the offspring from the parent through mitotic cell division only. Only the sharing of the genetic material occurs and there is no genetic variation among the daughter cells produced from the parent, as well as they will not differ from the parent cell in any aspect, because these are the mitotic products, not the meiotic products. In case of meiosis, there occurs the genetic recombination. Recombinations results in formation of variations among the progeny. But in this case, as the progeny is the resultant of the mitotic cell division, only the genetic material passes on, that is transferred from parents to the offspring as it is. There are no variations. That is why the offsprings are genetically and morphologically identical to the parents and are called clones. These are called clones. These are called clones. Clones are nothing but identical individuals. These are produced as a result of asexual reproduction. And if we find any change in the genetic material or any variation in the progeny, that happens only because of random mutation, that is change in the genetic material randomly, that results in variation. That is the only source of genetic variation in this type of reproduction, and this occurs most commonly in unicellular organisms like protozoa, bacteria, paramecium, amoeba, and and even in plants also, and in certain animals that have relatively simple organizations. That is, these are evolutionarily primitive in nature. The organisms which are evolutionarily primitive, they definitely reproduce through asexual mode only. In plants, asexual reproduction is of two types. One is spore formation and the second one is vegetative reproduction. In plants, what are the vegetative parts? What are the vegetative parts of plant? Yes, you know that roots are vegetative parts, stem is a vegetative part, branch is a vegetative part, leaves are vegetative parts. Then flowers, what are the flowers? Flowers are reproductive parts. Okay, vegetative parts are there. So there are two types of asexual modes of reproductions in plant. One is formation of spores and the second one is formation through vegetative propagation. In animals, it is also by fission. Fission means breaking down. Budding is giving out lateral protuberances. Fragmentation, it is becoming into pieces or bits, breaking into bits. Cysts, some sac-like structures, and formation of spores. These are the various structures through which asexual reproduction takes place in animals. Let's come to the plants. In plants, the asexual reproduction is said to be agamospermy. Agamospermy. It is a kind of plant apomixis. It is somewhat like without fertilization or without fusion. No fusion takes place, no fusion. And embryos and seeds are formed by asexual reproductive methods. This also, the agamospermy also results in formation of seeds. These seeds are not produced because of fertilization. The embryos are not the resultants of fusion of gametes, because gametes are not produced. How can they fuse? There are no gametes. So, there is no fertilization, but without fertilization, they produce embryos and even seeds also. And also, we can say that meiotic gametogenesis, as I said, there are no formation of gametes. So, meiotic gametogenesis, that is no meiosis takes place and no fusion of these gametes or no fusion of meiotic products occurs. There is no such kind of fertilization or no such kind of fusion, and it occurs widely in ferns. Ferns are pteridophytes, and in flowering plants also. Ferns are non-flowering plants. Pteridophytes are non-flowering plants. We can see flowering and non-flowering plants in plant kingdom. We can categorize the agamospermy into three different types. One is recurrent apomixis, and second is adventive embryony, and third is non-recurrent apomixis. Let's see what is a recurrent apomixis. In this, a diploid embryo sac is formed having a diploid egg cell which grow into a diploid embryo. Just now we have seen that without fertilization they produce embryos and seeds. It is saying that it is the production of seeds and embryos and egg cells, but without meiotic division. These are all are diploid. As I said, diploid is nothing but there are two sets of chromosomes present in the cell. These are said to be diploid. A diploid embryo sac. What is an embryo sac? Let's see what is an embryo sac. Yes, this is the embryo sac. This is embryo sac, in which we can see an oval shaped structure. Yes, this is the embryo sac which we find in a flower. At the base of the flower there is ovary. In the ovary there are ovules. Ovules, after fertilization, they produce seeds. They transform into seeds. But we are talking about asexual reproduction. This embryo sac is produced. There is egg cell, synergids and polar nuclei, and there is a central cell and antipodals are there. This is the structure of embryo sac. I just wanted to show you what is an embryo sac. This is the actual embryo sac. Okay, that embryo sac is actually, if it is produced in sexual reproduction, it is of haploid in nature, but it is in apomixis, in agamospermy, it is a diploid structure. Example in apple and allium. Allium sipa is onion, allium sativum is garlic. In apple and allium, there are two types of recurrent apomixis. One is diplospory, second is apospory. In diplospory, diploid megaspore mother cell is there. It undergoes division and gives rise to this. I have shown you this embryo sac. Diploid mother cell without meiosis, only mitosis, undergoes mitosis, gives rise to the diploid cell, will give rise to the diploid embryo sac, and this diploid embryo sac will contain diploid egg cell. This will give rise to embryo, diploid embryo. Anyway, embryo is diploid. Apospory. In apospory, diploid mother cell will be there. This unicellular mother cell will give rise to the entire embryo. Then the second type, adventive embryony. In adventive embryony, formation of embryo is directly from the diploid sporophytic cells, diploid cells. Like I have shown you that this is the embryo sac in which egg cell is there, synergids are there, polar nuclei, there is a large central cell and antipodals are there. And where these are present actually, it is in the ovary, in the ovule. That is, if you want to know where the actual structure is present, in which flower it is clear? Yes, I hope this is the clear one. All the pictures I am taking are from the source Google. Yes, this is a longitudinal section of a flower. It contains the peduncle or the pedicel, that is the stalk of the flower, and receptacle is there. There are sepals, petals, colored petals are there, and there is a middle part called the gynoecium. Gynoecium has three parts: the basal swollen part called the ovary, middle a narrow tube-like structure called the style and the apical structure called stigma. And these are the yellow color strands with red tips. These are stamens, male reproductive structures. But we are talking about asexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, this is the embryo, and this embryo, this is the ovule actually, not the embryo, it is the ovule. This ovule will consist of this structure. This structure is present in, it is present here in the ovule. This structure is present, this whole structure is present in ovule. Okay, this structure is produced by from a single mother cell, that is megaspore mother cell, which is a haploid one. But in this case, these are diploid. These are diploid. This structures will give rise to nucellus, or integument is the cover of the layer of the ovule, and but never from the egg. It will never form egg. Example, citrus opuntia. In citrus, a seed may possess up to 40 embryos. 40 embryos are there, one normal and rest are adventive embryos. This is called adventive polyembryony, adventive embryony. We can say that polyembryony, there are more number of embryos. In non-recurrent apomixis, in non-recurrent type, embryo developed parthenogenetically, that is without fertilization. Actually, embryos are developed only after fertilization. In asexual mode also, these embryos will be developed, but without the fusion of the gametes, without fertilization. That is called parthenogenesis. Parthenogenesis from haploid egg, synergid and antipodals. The egg, synergid and antipodals are the structures of this embryo sac. Each one can give rise to embryo. Now, it is of non-recurrent apomixis is of two types. It is produced by parthenogenesis and it is of two types, apospory and apogamy. Apospory is formed by gametophyte. It is actually, sporophyte is diploid and gametophyte is haploid. These are the two stages of the life cycle. Two phases are there, gametophyte and sporophyte. And if this is the aposporous formed gametophytes are generally diploid in nature, because gametophytes are haploid, but if they produce through apospory, the gametophytes are diploid in nature and leads to polyploidy formation, and new species in pteridophytes and bryophytes are produced through this process. Gametophyte give rise to sporophyte. Let's see if there is a, let's see the life cycle. Life cycle consists of two phases. Life cycle of a plant. First stage is the gametophytic stage, gametophyte, which is a haploid. Second is sporophyte, which is a diploid. Remember, gametophytic phase is haploid and sporophytic phase is diploid. So, the gametophyte which is produced through apospory is diploid gametophyte. It is diploid. Keep it in your mind. The gametophyte is always haploid, but if it is produced through apospory is haploid. Then apogamy. No gametic fusion takes place. Such sporophytes are not viable if produced from haploid gametophytes. Gametophytes are haploid. If the sporophytes produced from gametophytes, they are haploid. Gametophytes are haploid if they are produced from sporophytes. Parthenogenetically, they are diploid. Sporophytes are diploid if they are produced from gametophyte without fusion, without fertilization, they are haploid. Remember this point. Gametophyte is haploid. If it is produced, this gametophyte is produced through apospory, then it is diploid. Sporophyte is diploid if it is produced through apogamy, then it is haploid. Remember these 2 points, these are very, very important. Gametophyte is haploid in general. If it is produced through apospory, it is diploid. Sporophyte is diploid. If it is produced through apogamy, then it is haploid. I hope the point is clear. Yes, with this I have finished, and you must know what is haploid, what is diploid, and what are gametes, what are spores, and what is the difference between a gametophyte and a sporophyte. These things will be dealt in your future sessions, and I hope you have understood well about the flower, embryo sac, embryo, asexual reproduction, and types of asexual reproduction. In the next session, we will discuss about spores, how the spores are produced in asexual reproduction. Until then, goodbye.